is going on, everybody? Today, I am excited to have another guest on Abundance Live, and we're going to be talking about paid media, for all of you who are wondering. So, set this bad boy up right here. Hope all of you are well. What's up, Erica? Thank you for joining. Pete, thank you for joining as well. Oh, why is this crooked? I'm just waiting for Sin to join us. There we go. There we go. There's Cynthia. What's going on, Cynthia? Cool. So looks like people are rolling in. Hey, everybody. Good to see y'all. Word, welcome to Abundance Live. Let me kill this background music. I got a little meditation music going there. 417 hertz for all my meditators out there. That seems to be the frequency that works for me. Hey, let me see. Sin, do you see the, there it is. There it is. There we go. So we're just waiting for Sin to get on. There she is. What's going on, dude?
Nothing much. Whenever I see us on camera, I'm like, is that what I look like as a dude?
Are we related?
What's your nationality again?
Dude, well, thank you so much for hopping on with me.
Of course. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing better than surviving in this pandemic that everybody keeps talking about.
You know, I feel guilty for saying the same, but yeah.
Nice. Well, yeah, I just want to start out by saying, how much I admire what it is that you're doing. I don't even remember how the hell we started following each other, but we've never met in person. Somehow we started following each other, and I resonate with everything you post, and I'm like, fuck yeah, like, look at you fucking crushing it. I fucking love it. So I just wanted to just throw that out there and send you those good vibes. Just be grateful.
Thank you. I think I've expressed this to you, but I feel pretty similarly. Everything that you put out, I'm just like, fuck yeah, I totally agree. Like we're very much aligned, which is really interesting because you would think that a profession like paid media would be more would feel a little bit different, or wouldn't have like a more brand oriented and even a more brand oriented approach, but that's my approach to it, and that's why I'm very different.
Let's just say we're not dry. So let me ask you this. I want to start all my Abundance Lives with this question, because I think it kind of like sheds a little light on the person. What's your morning routine like?
Oh man. You know, I've worked really hard to get like a routine down. And I find that what I do and the hours that I wake up vary, not by too much. Like I wake up between 7 and 8:30, around there. I kind of just sit and like breathe. And I think about all the things I'm grateful for. I brush my teeth and I get to work.
Damn, you jump right into it.
Yeah, sometimes like I'll listen to a podcast while I'm working, just to like ease into it, like just open up and like look at all the things that I have to do, write it down a to-do list. Like that's what I mean by going straight into work, like writing down a to-do list. I have like a whiteboard, just get myself organized and then just start chopping away. And that's pretty much how I go about that. But sometimes it looks different. And I always thought that you needed like a morning routine that was like, you gotta like meditate for like 20 hours and then you gotta like do some push-ups and then say like a mantra out loud. But for me, that just feels very natural. It just feels natural. Just like, oh, I'm really happy I'm alive right now. I'm gonna write down a to-do list to get organized, casually get something to drink, a bottle of water, and just start plugging away at work. What about
Word.
you?
Yeah, mine's. I mean, it starts with an ice plunge. I think everybody who follows me knows that. So I go, I get up, I try to, and let me just take a step back, actually. So the one thing about my morning routine is that it depends on what season of life I'm in, right? Like when I'm in like grind and hustle mode, it's definitely different than when I'm in like, okay, I need to create, space for my mind to be creative. My morning routine's totally different, like in that season. But right now it starts with an ice plunge. That pretty much gets me like wired like right away. It's a huge shot of adrenaline. And then as soon as I get out, because I'm cold, like I have to start moving, so that makes me start like getting into some kind of movement and get the blood rushing. And ultimately the blood rushing gets me to start breathing, so then that kind of just goes into breath work automatically. And then I go for my cup of coffee, and that takes me about 15 minutes to do the first cup. And then I go and pour the second cup, and then I get to work.
I see. Yeah. I think I kind of give myself some time to, as I'm like perusing on the internet or perusing through my like mailbox and have like a podcast on, like that's my kind of like chill time. Just like, oh, I'm just chilling in the space and kind of like easing into it a little bit. I hate
Word.
like directly plunging, like answering an email. Like I don't take any calls before 11:30. That's just my thing. My
Right.
mornings are sacred. It's just for me to do the work that just to get organized.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
it's really interesting that you said like depending on your seasons or like depending on like the mode that you're in. Right now I'm in full hustle mode, I'm not gonna lie. But when I'm kind of in like maybe vacation mode or like this is my time to get generate like ideas, like come up with a new idea, a new product or something like that. I notice that my mornings start rather chaotically. Like I'll wake up and I'll be like, I need to write this one thing down. Like I need to just spend 2 hours like getting all these ideas out of my brain. Like I don't really follow
Yes.
a routine per se. It's a
100%.
lot more chaotic. Sometimes I'll
100%.
wake up at like during those times like later, like 11. It's just yeah.
So here's the thing that we both definitely have in common is that I fucking love business. I fucking love it. Like every aspect of it, I really enjoy business. And I know you're the same way. So like even like when I'm being like creative, it's still how can I make money? You know what I mean? Because I just genuinely like it, like it's just fun for me. Like I thoroughly enjoy business.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like I talked to my therapist about it. Like I wonder if that's like a I don't know if that's a bad thing, but it's just something that I love to, like I'm always thinking of ways so even now, I'm using the money that I'm generating from advertising, right? I'm always thinking of ways to flip something. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, how can I flip this and kind of dip my toe into like now I'm learning a lot about crypto and investing
Mm-hmm.
and I'm looking to take some courses into real estate because I feel like these are areas of my life where I don't understand a lot and I just whatever I don't understand I just want to master. It's
Yes.
and then so I wonder a lot of times I think that's one of the traits that makes me a really good advertiser because
Mm.
within marketing there are just so many layers to it, so many components. There's copywriting, there's analytics, there's understanding, having a basic understanding of machine learning, even sometimes coding to an extent when it comes to conversion tracking. So every area in which I'm not good at, I kind of hyper obsess and like hyper focus on and think of ways to
Yep.
get better at it. And then I'm like, well, how can I make money out of it now?
Right. Yeah, naturally, that's your next thought. Well, and you took that perfectly because I was gonna lobby that one, but you just ran with that transition, which I fucking love. So that's awesome.
Uh,
But that kind of also goes into like a little bit, like tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into this. Like, I kind of alluded that you ended up working for Damon John. I think that's awesome. Like, how did this all unfold?
yeah. So I think I was like a basically I was a frustrated artist, a failed graphic designer. And as a failed graphic designer, I kind of bounced around on unstable gigs and jobs and things like that. And honestly, I also dabbled in freelance photography, specifically wedding photography. And photography was my passion, and then I kind of like dabbled into design there to make money out of like being a creative, right? And I found that I was horrible at like the overall business aspects of it. just invoicing, even marketing my business. Like I didn't really know how to get past word of mouth kind of situation. So in trying to promote my own business, I kind of dabbled into advertising and online advertising in the world of Google ads and Facebook ads and things like that, and web design, and just even SEO slightly. Um, I noticed that I felt like really behind in life, honestly. I felt like college kind of held me back. It's a weird thing. Like I loved my first 2 years of college, and then after my 2 years, I felt like it was like diminishing returns. And I was just like, screw this. I'm just going to try something completely different, something that no one's ever really done in my family or the people around me. And I just kind of wanted to dip my toe into business. And I learned all about Google advertising. I learned all about Facebook advertising. I studied up. I remember I was working in a print shop, like a graphic design print shop, for like $11 an hour or something like that. And I would, instead of actually working and doing all the things I was supposed to do, I would just study and just like rack up and learn. And I would even have things like on audio and just like listen to
Mm-hmm.
different audiobooks and things like
Mm-hmm.
that as I was like sweeping, because sometimes there was just nothing to do at the shop.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually fired me, which was perfect, because right when they fired me, I just got a job in an advertising agency. And that's what I learned at the ground up. And so that was like my first real job where I was actually helping business owners scale their business. The majority were local businesses. And I was using Facebook ads and Google ads to get the word out there. And the
What year
impact
was
that I was
that?
having, that was in 2016,
Hmm.
2015, 2016, around there. Or maybe.
Right, so it was like still fresh.
Yeah. So, well, Google was there for a minute.
Yeah,
This is when,
Google's been there.
yeah, yeah. This is when Facebook started to get really big. And I actually, in that agency, I became like the Facebook person.
Hmm.
So I introduced that service for the agency. And so, um,
Naturally, as an entrepreneur.
I just want to, I'm always like, I always want to be different. I always want to be the first to do something. I don't know if that's like being like the oldest in my family and like, I don't know. Anyway, so I love the impact that I had helping small businesses and just helping businesses in general, because from there I kind of rose up the ranks to managing more enterprise level accounts, so like spend like 50K per month, around there. And I fell in love with actually like the advertising aspect of it, but all the steps that lead up to that, getting down your messaging, competitive research so that we can hone in your unique positioning in the marketplace. And then all the strategy work that comes with that, working one-on-one with the client, working with their team. A lot of it is like project management, getting clarity or giving clarity to the client, because this is a whole new landscape for them a lot of the time. So
Yep.
making it really clear for them. Then from there, I was like, hey, I think I can do this on my own and freelance and get my own clients. And so, I quit my job on good terms. And that agency owner, his name's Isaac Rudansky. I'm still like really cool with him. He refers clients my way all the time. And I started freelancing, and I ran through all my savings. I didn't do it the right time the second time. So I was like, you know what? If I ever go back to a job, I'm going to make it worthwhile. So my one of my friends was actually, well, my boyfriend was actually working with Damon John at the time, like on a freelance basis. And I saw that they were hiring for a marketing manager, a digital marketing manager. And I was like, that job is mine. I just said it like that. I was like, that job is mine.
Okay, I
And
love that attitude. I just want to point that
I
out.
read the description. I'm like, I'm gonna make this mine. Like, I'm gonna make it work. Like, I know I am. I've always been inspired by Shark Tank. I don't know any entrepreneur that hasn't, to some extent.
Right.
But like, I feel like it put entrepreneurship on the map. So I was like, I'm
For
like, I
better,
need to
for
get it.
worse.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I just need to be in that environment with like sharks like myself. That's how crazy I am. So I'm just like, oh, I'm a shark. I'm really not. I'm like a little guppy. So uh I pretty much hit up everyone that was connected on Instagram with that job. And eventually I got like my resume in. I got an interview with the president. And then from that interview, I just followed up with literally all the work that I've been doing on a freelance basis. Like I work with digital marketers that are working to level up in their career. And so everything I did was just, it was just everything I would do for a client. I pitched them. I showed them case studies of the work that I've done for other clients. I
Hmm.
showed them solutions that I provided. I showed them examples of landing pages that I've done and things like that.
Hmm.
And I think my follow-up email closed the deal because I got the job. And yeah, even from there, just like honestly, and yeah, I'm biased obviously of myself, but I really rose up the ranks in just like 5 months, honestly, and I
Yep.
kind of ran that entire department.
Well, here's what you did. I just want to point this out too, because I know a lot of people are watching, right? And what I admire about your approach is basically, we like to call this hustle. We like to say, oh, we hustle, we grinded our way, we busted door downs, whatever, whatever, because I mean, that's just the culture, right? But in reality, what you really did was you made everybody, every step of the way, comfortable with you. You didn't go in there and fucking like, thrash shit around. You were like, no, like I am qualified, like, and you were persistent and you weren't taking no for an answer. Not that you got any no's, but like, you just kept building your credibility all along the way until you basically got the job as like, yeah, of course you're gonna get the job.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I feel comfortable saying things like this because we're both kind of spiritual in a way, and I'm recently embracing the woo woo. I'm just full on embracing it.
Hmm.
But I honestly declared it immediately. Like that job is
Hmm.
mine. I set forth an intention and I go after it full force. So for me, it
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily feel like, I often disagree with that whole hustle culture because
Same.
for me, I just feel like I'm being myself, like
Exactly.
unapologetically
Exactly. Please
and
say that
full
again.
force,
Please say that again.
unapologetically.
Yep.
um, and just with full force.
Hmm.
So I don't really see it as like hustle. Like even I see people like really, I mean, I feel like it's the default to do anything that is different from everyone else. You have to work hard. That's a given. But that to me is so boring. It's just like, of course you have to work hard, but it's working smart. And then also the additional component of working in alignment.
Yes.
So
I
that's
think
kind of my
um,
approach.
I think a lot of people say work hard, and I posted something about this a while back. That working hard kind of has this like misconception in my opinion. I think really what we mean is to be persistent and consistent, right? And that gets misconstrued for working hard. And then you add that layer of like working smart, which is just refining your process, right? Ultimately, like in business, everything is a feedback loop, right? So you put the initial idea out there, you set the intention, right? You implement, you take action, you get your data, and then you do your homework on the data set that you have, and then you refine, and then you just repeat that process, right? Over and over and over again. And it's inevitable to find success that way. Like you cannot help but find success if you're approaching it in this manner, you know?
Yeah, and that's really the methodology that you just referred to. It's like that's the approach and the right approach to advertising. I think the question is, whether or not that's profitable for people, but that's just the right approach. You are approaching something when you're in the spirit of testing, and naturally in the kind of realm of testing, failures happen. But in advertising, a failure isn't a failure; it's data accrued, and what can we learn from this data, and how can we optimize moving forward? And so you mentioned like in the Instagram post, it was just like you have to make an investment, but that's essentially advertising. The first couple, if you've never done it before, advertising is essentially an investment in gathering data and knowledge about your target audience and the ideal messaging for them.
Hmm.
So
Yep. So let's
I,
let's
I, I wish
let's
everyone
dive
had
into
that
the juicy
mindset with
stuff.
advertising though.
Well, yeah, exactly. So that's exactly what I want to get into now, which is like, with marketing, with advertising, with all of it, like, ultimately there's this testing phase that you go through, right? To find your messaging, to find your product market fit, all of the things that you need to do before you start unloading the money onto the account and, scaling from there.
And then you
Um,
have a, sorry to cut you off, but just to add on to that, then there's the additional layer of the platform's actual learning phase. So the learning
mm,
phase is, it's happening because what the learning phase is within Facebook and even Google, now that we have smart campaigns, it's saying like, hey, we're trying to accrue all the data possible and mine all that data so that we can start laser focusing your advertising for your specific conversion goal. So as the machines are doing that, the advertiser is doing that as well.
Hmm. Word. Cool. So like obviously you know a lot about this stuff. Where do we start? Like let's say I know there's a lot of people in here who have you know successful coaching businesses, right? And they have a Instagram presence, they have a Facebook group, they have presence already. They you know they're not just starting, and they want to add more value to that. Let's say with paid. How do you suggest one goes about?
Yeah. So I actually consulted with one of my friends who owns a like a business, like life coaching business, and she's like, "Hey, I have this product, I have this course now. I have my signature one-on-one program. I'm thinking of scaling it. How do I go about with advertising? Like, how do I go about that, right?" And she has two things that work really well. She already has the foundation meaning she has a conversion goal. Specifically in this case would be courses, like course signups, right, with advertising. So it's like you can tie all your efforts in now that you have a specific goal. So initially you want to set your objectives. You want to do research in the space, a lot of competitive research. What are other people doing? um, if you can just look up industry wide. It's really tough to do so maybe in the coaching business because that could be so niched. But like Google average CPMs within your industry, you know, that would be more relatable to like someone in the e-commerce space. So you can actually look up like e-commerce, like beauty average CPMs, and you can see that, and you can like, oh, then from there you can kind of make a deduction that you need X amount to generate X amount of clicks, and X amount of clicks depending on your conversion rate on your landing page will lead to X amount of conversions. I actually have a calculator on my website.
I saw that.
Yeah. So that really helps. And I'll talk about that with clients, and I'll just like doggle it and all that stuff. And it gives you like a nice kind of like jumping off point and thinking about how ads can actually be profitable for you. But
Mm,
in order to, find the answer for this specific equation, you need the specific variables. And when you're starting off, you have to realize that you kind of have to spend money
hmm.
to determine those variables sometimes.
Right. And ultimately spending that money down the line, like what you really are doing by spending that money is you're protecting, you know, your downside risk, right? You're actually learning, like we were saying before, like you're actually learning, you're investing in data, right? So in that first, I don't know how long your testing phase is, but what would you say, maybe 3 months?
I think it depends on how much you spent and how many clicks you've gathered. So I think a really solid sample size to deduce anything within maybe like an audience that you're targeting, just like one specific ad set, is like 500 clicks.
Mm,
That's a solid sample size that you can say, hey, this ad isn't working, or like, hey, this audience isn't resonating because our click through rates are under 2%, and we're not generating any kind of leads in this funnel at all. So there's a lot of different components, and it's a big machine. But to take a step back, I would say I would ask that coaching client what is your goal, and what are you trying to sell, and how can you even break that down. So specifically, if you have a course, what works really well is to utilize Facebook advertising slash Instagram advertising, because in order to advertise on Instagram, you have to use a Facebook platform. Use that as a way to get opt-ins and like emails. So what that means, it's like if you have some kind of free course initially, gather all those emails and like have Facebook do just get in all those leads. And then from there, if someone completes your free course at a certain percentage, this is based on what I've seen, just like working with clients, like what's the most profitable in the long run. Once you get a certain percentage of people that go through the course, that's when you advertise to those people specifically. They got through 50% of the free course, then you send them a direct to sell ad,
hmm.
leading to
Hmm.
a landing page that really closes them nicely.
Hmm.
It's
So what we're
rare.
talking about here is building a relationship ultimately.
Yeah, there's a really good metaphor. It's like if you're trying to find a partner to get married to, or
I use
like a
this one
long
all the
term,
time.
yeah, like you're
The
not gonna,
coffee date, the little dinner
yeah,
date. You don't
like
ask to get married like on the first date,
yeah,
basically.
you like chat a little bit on Instagram, then you see like, hey, you want to, well, I guess in today's age, we can't go see a movie, but like you want to go, just get some coffee. Then from there, you go to a bar. Then from there, you like, okay, maybe I'll spend my money on you. We'll have a serious dinner. And then you need to develop trust.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
So
that's really what
ultimately,
marketing is, like
right,
developing trust. And when people do it wrong, it's because they don't develop trust. They kind of go
right.
straight in for the kill, and then it leaves a very nasty, like bad taste in your mouth.
Exactly. And I really want to highlight the point that this is just how human beings work, right? Like this is not a marketing thing. This is not like, like a business thing. This is just how human beings work. Like this is how we connect with each other, right? And we talk about it through this medium of marketing, right? But in the end of the day, branding marketing is about knowing, liking, and trusting, and you take the same approach that you would take in real life, to your digital product or your digital service or whatever it is, right? And you build those relationships slowly and you invest in those relationships so that you can make more direct asks further down the funnel that everybody likes to talk about. And I think it's also important that, you know, at this stage of the game, like we kind of know like what works like digitally, right, to build relationships, right? And earlier we said like, we kind of both like going against the grain and being the first one to try something new, but in this case, it's like don't reinvent the wheel, you know what I mean? Like we know what works. We know that there's certain things you have to do with a cold audience. There's certain things that you have to do to nurture them down your funnel into a warmer lead to talk to them to get them into a free webinar or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
would you agree or disagree?
No, I completely agree. Like the overall structure is there for you, and people do it in many different ways, but it's just like, I think it depends on the industry as well. Like with e-commerce, I would build out more, like we say the word funnel, but when I say funnel, I'm not taking into account the entire user journey. I'm just talking about how I'm breaking it up in terms of targeting cold funnels, cold audiences, warm audiences, then hot audiences. I'll break out a funnel, right? But it's more direct to sell. Whereas with something like building a course, like you really need to understand the landscape and the industry that you're in. Selling a course right now, it's a little bit harder because everyone has a course. So you have to work extra hard in developing trust. And there are a million different ways that people are doing it. And so I agree that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to be creative in those specific variables. Like the formula is there. You just be creative in how you present those variables or how you go about them. Um,
Word. This chat is going off. I just want to kind of scroll through it and see if
oh
we,
shit.
guys, if you have any questions, drop them in the little question box
Sorry
there.
for ignoring you guys. I just have one last point.
Go ahead.
Um, when it comes to developing a strong advertising strategy within Google Ads, Facebook ads, and also even SEO, the best way that we go about developing that strategy is just look at what our competitors are doing and fill in the gaps. So, yeah, you really don't have to reinvent the wheel sometimes. Just want to be a little edgier, a little bit more creative. That's all.
Word.
Yeah. What's everyone saying? I'm
Pretty
scrolling here
much
now.
some shady sales guys out there, looks like. Uh, Glad you didn't go with that guy either. Yeah, no, really interesting.
That's good stuff. Someone wrote their middle name is ROI. Funny. Mine is ROAS. It's ROAS.
Roaz,
Return
hell
on
yeah.
advertising spends.
I love that. I love that. I was listening to Tim Ferriss this afternoon, and he goes, "Oh, I hate to use such a crass terminology, but ROI." And I was like, you know what, Tim? I kind of disagree with you. Sometimes you do just need to get straight to the point and be like, "Yeah, my middle name is ROI." I love that.
And I'm just like, what my goal is with advertising is like to make it like not sleazy anymore. Like, how do I make advertising great again? Like those golden years with Ogilvy,
Right,
you know? Uh,
right.
some people will argue that's not necessarily golden, but
Yeah, I resonate with that. I can say that. the last business that I was operating was a historical restoration business, and we did a lot of like work inside of people's homes as contractors, right? And one of the BHAGs that we put together was, making it not sleazy again because contractors had this terrible reputation. And it's so funny because I thought that was unique to that industry. And then I move over into the digital marketing industry, and it's like the same thing all over again. And then it's the same thing in the coaching industry, and it's the same thing in like every industry.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like in these fragmented markets, like there are a lot of people, out there kind of like not, they don't really know what they're doing. They're just selling things to sell, and it gives the rest of us, who put in the time and the work and the effort, like, I don't know, bad rap, but we ultimately overcome it.
We do. I think like branding at the end of the day wins. The companies, so pro tip, the companies that really, as ad costs increase year over year, right? Less people are shopping in person, more people are shopping online, which means that things are going to get more expensive in Google and Facebook. These are the two big players in the game, right? Um, Profitable in advertising, the only way to do that is to actually have a brand and to build out a brand.
Mm,
Think long term. A
mm,
lot of clients that I have worked with in the past, they have been easily just out. Uh, they've just been ran out of town with a competitor that could do the same exact thing. So when I
hmm.
say branding, I'm not saying like your website, which is important, or like the colors that you use or your logo. When I say branding, is like how the end user or your customer actually thinks about you, your unique positioning in the landscape, and your overall messaging.
Yeah, I would take it a step further and say, how do they feel about you? I love that Maya Angelou quote. People don't remember, what you said or what you do, but they will remember how you made them feel,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know? So yeah, I mean, dive into branding a little bit more. Like, I think I love talking about this subject because I I really love how much psychology is involved in branding and how much like human nature is involved in branding, right? The power of a personal brand. I even said recently, like, I really believe that a personal brand these days is ultimately like a driver's license. Like, if you don't have a driver's license today, like, you're going to be limited as to what you can do in the world. And I feel like in the coming years, if you don't have a personal brand, you're probably going to be limited as to like what kind of access you have to just the general population.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. I think it's the way I see it. It's not necessarily everyone has to have it, but I see it as like a why not? Why not open yourself up to more opportunities? Why not build perceived value? Because something when I work with freelancers that are trying to ask for more and charge more and make more, they oftentimes the issue is not the knowledge base or the skill sets. It was the same issues that I had. It's building the perceived value. It's building that trust in the end user. So if you have, unfortunately, I don't know if this is, you can go about it different ways. You can say it's a bad thing. You can say it's a good thing. But the fact that I do have a certain amount of followers and I portray myself as a professional on social and that I'm easily Googleable. And when you do Google me, like good things pop up. I look legit.
Hmm.
I look legit as fuck. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, it only helps me. It only helps literally everything I do.
It
Like
makes
it,
you more abundant.
absolutely. So it opens me up to opportunities. So I see it as a why not. I'm not saying I've seen people that are very successful that don't have that.
Yeah.
Um, and that's cool. But for me, it just attracts new opportunities. And it's something that I'm very, very adamant about for other people that are looking to pave their own way independently, different from everyone else.
Yep. I think one thing that you brought up, and I keep seeing questions here about the antitrust suits. You know anything about that?
What about antitrust suits? There's someone in here that mentions, okay, excited to see if these antitrust suits open up more advertising channels and reach. Um, Antitrust suits. I mean,
I think he's talking about how Google and Facebook are basically being subpoenaed by Congress, to bust them up because basically Google and Facebook are like two-thirds of all marketing and advertising spend like on the internet, which is pretty wild.
yeah,
And if that will open up new channels. I mean, I think competition is good for consumers in
yeah,
general. So.
I don't think it's going
Possibly.
to happen anytime soon.
I also agree with you on
Yeah.
that. Yep.
Google is just too much of a beast. Facebook now has Instagram, and Instagram is only growing as a platform.
Yep.
Uh, so I don't think that's gonna. What it is gonna do it. So there's a new privacy features in the new iOS update
Yep.
that really screws up reporting for advertisers and mucks with attribution. So that's gonna if you have a if you're using like a lot of custom conversions, that's going to screw up your reporting. But if you're more or less just using the standard conversion events, you should be fine. But I think more of that is going to limit visibility and kind of limit what we see or limit what we learn in regards to purchasing behavior.
Hmm.
So I do see more of that happening with more permission based marketing.
The golden days are over, coming to an end.
Yeah, yep. Someone mentioned something about a recruiter. Like,
Let's see, recruiter. Let me see. Let
I
me
got
see.
offered a job from a recruiter, that one.
I don't see it. I got offered a job from a recruiter, but I'm still dealing with a bit of imposter syndrome, so I don't feel as if I should respond. Wow,
It's a
super
good
interesting.
topic, actually.
Yeah,
I love
imposter
talking
syndrome.
about it.
I love it too. Let's
I want
let's
to hear,
jam.
what
All
do
right,
you have
let's
to say?
jam.
No, what do you have to say about it? I'm curious. What's your perspective on imposter
On
syndrome?
imposter syndrome, so I personally have dealt with it several times. I think as an entrepreneur, I think a lot of people confuse, if you've ever read the E-Myth, they confuse an entrepreneur with like an expert, right? As an entrepreneur, you don't necessarily have to be an expert in any particular topic, right? But that does fuck with your head, because you're going into these situations where people are asking you such like very specific questions and you may not know the answer. Um, I can tell a story specifically uh, when I first got into the digital marketing space. I had a lot of experience with my past business. I learned all my digital marketing as a practitioner, right? Like just I had a lot of money to throw at the problem, so I just threw it at the problem and figured it out as I went. And I knew what I was talking about, but I didn't have the credentials, right? So I started networking in Manhattan, going to a lot of different meetups and, ending up in a lot of offices of like startups after hours, like, when they do their networking events
Hmm.
and talking to people. And I just didn't know the language, right? I knew what I was talking about. I knew the concept, but I didn't know the language. And I felt like an imposter because I couldn't connect with anybody, right? Um, Ultimately, though, to get over that imposter syndrome, I'm a big, big believer in exposure therapy. Like, if you're afraid of something, if you have these feelings that are coming up, you really should confront these things. You really should just work on reframing that belief system. And I believe the way that you do that is by exposing yourself to the reality of that whatever it is that you're feeling is most likely not true and
Yeah,
relearning that through experience.
yeah,
So it's just a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be okay with um, being a little bit embarrassed, being a little bit vulnerable, saying that you don't know. I fully believe in transparency. When I don't know something, like I just say I don't know. Like I'm not gonna fake it. Why the fuck would I do that? It's just gonna dig
I'm
me a
the
hole.
same way. Yeah.
So, as far as imposter syndrome, dealing with it, I think the only way to deal with it is to face it head on and breathe. Just breathe through it.
Mm-hmm. I have a pretty similar approach, and it's just leaning into it because you are an imposter. Like if you're feeling that you're an imposter, I think it's a good thing. I think people are oftentimes afraid of it naturally, right? Your brain is trying to keep you safe. Doing anything
Yes.
new means it's exposing you to new threats in your environment. So that's how we've evolved. Like that's how we've stayed alive or as a species.
Yeah,
And
100%.
it's just I embrace the fact I feel like an imposter all the time. I hire people now all the time, and I kind of have to manage them, and I'm trying to be a better leader with them and think of ways to better communicate with them and to engage them and to empower them.
Hmm.
um, and sometimes I feel like, man, it wasn't too long ago that I was working under a boss and taking orders, and now I'm over here firing clients. Like, who the fuck do I think I am? You don't think I get that feeling all the time, but I've kind of trained myself to know that that's when I'm pushing myself to a new level. So I
Exactly.
see that as an indicator, as like, okay, I'm pushing myself because I feel like an imposter. That means I'm doing something new.
Yep.
Anytime you do something new, you're an imposter in that specific situation. And that is something to be embraced. And I think
Yep.
your perspective of just reframing it, that's essentially what I do. Like, you are
Yeah.
an imposter.
It's
Yeah.
a growth edge.
Yeah. Like, and okay. Like,
Yeah.
worst case scenario, you fail. Oh, yeah. And like, I literally play a worst case scenario. I'm like, oh, that's not really not that bad.
Oh
That's
yeah.
why
I love failure. I love failure. Failure is just a learning experience.
it's like accruing data. Like, literally, the way I optimize an account, and someone asked me the other day, they were just like, what do you do when you have a client and you're reporting like really bad information to them, like performance has tanked? First off, you, from the beginning, this is a dance from the beginning. You're partnering with the client as a partner and not an order taker per se. You're a partner with them. So when performance tanks and you know that you're doing everything within your power to like keep the lights on, like you're doing everything, you're optimizing you're checking, you're crossing your t's and you're dotting your i's and your optimizations, and it happens. It's like a landscape blows. We can't predict things like COVID-19, like this just happens. So what you need to do is to be proactive with the client and tell them,
Mm.
we've been doing X, Y, and Z optimizations. I'm predicting that we're going to see a kind of a dip because I'm seeing today like things aren't working, or like the past 2 days things are kind of teetering off. So I'm predicting X, Y, and Z. Here's what I'm doing to prevent that, or here's what I'm doing to ensure that we caught this early, and we're going to test new ads, like we're going to just keep testing a little bit more rapidly now. Or as this performance is dipping, we're going to go test some variables on the landing page and A/B test that. I don't know. Like, you just want to be proactive. And the client, I mean, like 2 weeks ago, one of my clients, we've had a horrible day, and on a weekly basis, we spend probably like 10K plus, and that's a lot to spend. And the return wasn't there that week. They in a way that's like, we learned so much. These audiences that we tested did not work out. And moving forward, we're gonna, weed these audiences out, weed these creatives out, and start testing new ones. And we're gonna test this, and we're gonna hone in on that a little bit more. There's like, okay, that's great. Like, I'm so glad that we're moving forward.
Yep.
Meanwhile, performance was shit, but it's like, we use that data to learn something new, and that's how you have to position it to a client, because that's really what's happening. And it's the same thing in your life. Like, shit happens, like things don't go according to plan, like ever, and you learn from it and you keep going, you optimize as you go, and it gets better from there.
Yep. 100%. And this is like almost like a broader topic or conversation on just like entrepreneurship in general, not even just like, you know, uh, advertising and marketing. Like, I think that as an entrepreneur or as a person or, just operating in life, when you show up with integrity, when you show up with truth, right? When you're feeling that imposter syndrome, like you need to understand that you're here to figure it out and you are here with value just by being you, right? You have inherent value as who you are, right? So by speaking your truth, by saying, I mean, try this out. Like when you're feeling that you have imposter syndrome in a situation, just speak that. Hey, I feel like an imposter right now. Watch how many people connect with you because we all feel this shit. We've all been there, right? And they trust you more, they like you more, they end up wanting to talk to you more because that's fucking true as shit. Like we're all human beings here. We've all felt like outside of the fishbowl, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's just like one of those rite of passage feelings.
Ooh.
I mean, I think especially in the entrepreneur space, or just learning a new skill set or whatever the case is, like if you're not feeling imposter syndrome, if you're not feeling uncomfortable, if you're not feeling nervous, if you're not feeling doubt, I question if you're really giving it your all, and I question if you're really stepping
Mm.
outside of your comfort zone.
If you're trusting source.
If you're trusting source,
Yeah. So
what
for
does that mean?
me, So when you fully trust source, you're able to push your growth edge. When
Mm.
you're in full alignment with your destiny or when you're full alignment with your purpose, right? That's when you're pushing your growth edge the most. That's when you've ascended beyond your human condition, right? Because all these things that we're discussing are part of our human condition,
Mhm.
right? And until you fully align with your life's purpose, until you discover it, right? You haven't ascended past that yet. So once you fully trust that purpose, fully trust that mission that you're here to execute on, fulfill.
You know, I've had a theory that I've been thinking about lately, and finding your life's purpose, right? I've been thinking about all that, and I think that there are few ways in which you can do that, kind of like living in that abundance. And that's finding one of the ways in which you can do that. And I think it's absolutely vital. And I don't know if I'm right, is finding a skill set that you can monetize off of. Several ideally, but like my one grounding skill set is my advertising background. And I use that to ascend into other areas of entrepreneurship. And I'm constantly ascending. How can I flip this money that I've generated through my advertising agency and invest in real estate and then create ads to promote that real estate listing or whatever the case is? You know, like I'm constantly thinking of ways to elevate that. My understanding of statistics, how can I use that to to dip my toes into like understanding stocks on a deeper level, you know, like, so, but I think you need that one anchoring skill set that the market is in demand for. So then that kind of releases you and allows you to think abundantly because you're no longer worried about money.
Yeah, you're rising above the matrix, so to speak. You know, like the fact of the matter is we live in this environment where money is something that you need to consider.
Yeah.
Um, and if you really want to have the most impact on people, you do need to have that money. I mean, like everybody who's had tremendous impact has been able to amplify their impact with the money, right? Whether that's through speaking engagements, television, being on Shark Tank, whatever it is, right? Like you have this amplification through dollars. So yeah, I agree with you. I think the only thing I don't know if we're aligned here, but like I do see all these skill sets as tools, right? Tools that are just things that I'm putting in my tool bag on this journey of my higher purpose or my mission, right, in life, right? So entrepreneurship even is for me a tool, right? It's something that I've learned along the way. Maybe I kind of like, am a little bit more natural at it than somebody else, or maybe it's just the gift of my early traumas that allow me to be entrepreneur
Wow.
like yeah, I don't know.
Mhm.
But in either case, it's just a tool. It's just a tool for me to fulfill something else, which honestly, I still don't know what that is. But I do trust in the fact that because I have these gifts, I'm going to lean into them and I will discover whatever my higher calling is at some point in time. And that money is a part of that journey for me. Like that, I know. That I know. Because I've had the signs all along my life. Every time I've had those deep questions of like, do I need money? Like, is this actually important? I've received the answers through a conversation with somebody or through an event or a happening or whatever, however the message came through. To me, it became crystal clear that this was something important in my journey.
For me, it's been like money as because I've lived so long in lack the majority of my life, like in true lack, like government cheese type lack.
Mm,
I have always felt like the first step to ascension was getting past the money hump.
hmm
So that is it for me, and the way that I was able to do that, I think you're right. I think there's other way. I think it's a subjective thing, right? I think everyone has their own unique journey and their own perspectives and their own relationships with money. Not to say one is healthy or unhealthy, or one is more spiritual and less spiritual. But I think the initial like ascension or the initial step for me was just getting over the money thing, and
hmm
that's where I'm at. Where I've gotten to a level where, because of my skill set and providing value to the market and providing so much value to businesses and allowing them to scale and to grow, I initially overcame that hump, and now I'm on a new level. Now I'm thinking
Yes.
I'm no longer really like I don't have to think about bills and stuff. Instead, I'm thinking like, okay, how can I actually do what I actually enjoy, which is just providing value. How can I provide more impact, rather, not necessarily value, but impact?
Yep. So I think of it as like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where on the
Yeah,
bottom, like you do need to fulfill like the roof over your head and like the money component of things, like the bare minimum.
yeah.
And some people would argue with me, but uh, for me, at least in my subjective reality, that's something that needs to be handled. And then, as you said earlier, now you're able to employ people. Uh, and that is impact. That's fucking awesome. That's where I think entrepreneurship aligns with like really helping people. You know, like why are we looking at employment as like a bad thing? As like, like not everybody is equipped with the skill set to be an entrepreneur. Trust me. Like I talk to a lot of people and I'm like, how are you even in business? You don't understand this, and this,
Mhm.
right? Um, some people can fulfill their life's destiny through employment. And I think as entrepreneurs, this is something for us to strongly consider is how do we align our mission and our vision with those who we enroll in our companies, in our long-term goals, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And how do we give them value? How do we make sure that the money that's being generated from their work is also pouring into their cup? How are they able to impact others through their work here with us?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's just I see it as essentially creating opportunities for other people, right? Yeah, that's the impact that I chase at the end of the day. And I think like advertising is a tool to allow you to scale those efforts, to expand those efforts, to reach into untapped territories, new territories. Like, dude, the post that I reposted your post. I mean, this is technically it's advertising. It's not advertising that I would consider like highly sophisticated or something I would even vouch for, but I boosted it. And I boosted it specifically to a targeted audience, people interested in digital marketing, people interested in entrepreneurship over X ages. Like I boosted it, and that just allows me to scale into new territory, to tap into new potential opportunities.
Right.
I invested in my overall business. I'm not looking for an immediate transaction right now, but eventually I do have products in which they can transact in over time.
Mm. Let's talk about your products. We didn't get a chance to plug you.
We're bringing it full circle.
Hell yeah.
Well, I'm before that. Like, what about some questions here? Are anyone asking questions?
Well, I see some Kat said not everybody wants that either. I'm really curious as to what she's referring to because it looks like Ian, the last soul charmer, is agreeing. Here's another question. Free like floor, what do you consider to be skill sets to be an entrepreneur? What do you consider to be skill set? Like what skill
What
sets?
skill sets do you, I guess, need to be an entrepreneur, basically? So Floor is actually one of my coaching clients. She's great.
Hmm.
She's only 21 years old, and I've never seen, she's one of the rare people that I've seen that have that fire like so
Hmm.
early on, and the willingness to invest in themselves, and not just like with coaching with me, just like courses that she takes, like the fact that she throws herself into something to learn it like fully, and that dedication, it's very rare that I see something like that. So I would say that that skill set alone, like being led by passionate curiosity, all the skill sets that make you an extremely effective advertiser happens to like coincide with all the skill sets that make you a great entrepreneur. Having some kind of risk tolerance, being able to understand the difference between a dumb risk and like a calculated risk,
Yes.
and then doing whichever one accordingly. Um, just having like overall, I keep saying this word chutzpah, like
Chutzpah.
chutzpah,
Balls.
like you need the cojones,
Yes.
um,
Okay. Let
yeah,
me elaborate on that one,
go
please.
for it, go for it, go for it.
Um, and I have this conversation with my brother all the time. As we say, like what makes for someone who's truly successful? He's an actor, right? He's an actor in Hollywood. This is like a tough industry to break into.
Holy crap,
Um,
congrats to him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically, what I've seen, right, and I'm 33, so I'm not young, but I'm not old, right? Um, and I've spoken to a lot of people who are wealthy. I've been in their homes, and I've also spoken to a lot of people who are smart, and I've been in their homes, and I've met their families. And just because you're smart does not mean you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, right? to your point, chutzpah is a big part of the equation. You need to have the audacity, the guts to go out there and try to make happen what it is that you see in your mind, right? You have to go out there, talk to people, convince them of stuff that they don't currently believe, all in good faith, but that takes balls. Like you have to be able to face rejection. I think if anything, you really need to be able to face rejection. And the prerequisite for me at least is you have to have a certain level of self-esteem. If you don't have a certain level of self-esteem, I don't know if I would put my money behind you, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think it's like the same requirements needed to advertise. Like when you're first starting off and you're like a solopreneur kind of thing, you need to have like that the balls to, and also the knowledge base, right? Because you need to be able to project and you need to put aside a certain amount. You don't want to, like, it's the same thing with investing in stocks. You don't want to put, you don't want to invest what might hurt you, like what you don't have,
Right.
right? So you need to know how much of the percentage of profit that you have can you invest in marketing, and then how much in that little marketing budget can you invest specifically in advertising. But all of that takes balls to even do that, to try
Yeah.
something new, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I've seen a lot of people that are extremely smart. Like I know people in this industry that are way better than even me, and I think I'm pretty fucking good. Um, but and this, I don't want to come off as if I'm comparing, but I make more, and I'm probably, you know, you can say I'm less knowledgeable, I'm younger and things like that, but um, I put myself out there more. I
I was
take
just gonna
more
say.
risks.
Exactly.
I bank on myself a lot more
Yeah.
aggressively, and
Yep.
maybe not aggressive as I should, but I do a lot more than a lot of people in this industry.
Yeah,
And
you have more at bats. Of course, you're gonna hit a couple more out of the park.
yeah, I take bigger swings at the end of the day.
Yep.
And that's what you need. And I've even seen like people younger than me that make just like a fuck ton of money. And I'm like, how did you do that? Well, they just invested all of their life savings into this one project, this one Shopify
Yeah.
e-commerce company, and they just hit it out the park.
So I don't like to look at the metric of entrepreneurship or like a successful entrepreneur based on like how much money they have, right? Because the fact of the matter is that we have this problem of upward mobility. We have different socioeconomic classes that we all start within. You know, some of us are starting down here, some of us are starting here. You know, so like, cool, you have a lot of money, but you started a little bit further ahead than that guy, or vice versa, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I really go back to what I was saying before is that, you know, you really do need to have the balls. And sure, you need to have the knowledge. You have to be somewhat smart. But if you don't have the balls to get smart, if you don't have the, you know, the chutzpah to go out there and find out if you're right or wrong, you know, to test your ideas, you know, and also to qualify the feedback that you're getting, right? Somebody said feedback, and I'm like, yeah, you need to qualify your feedback because
Yeah.
honestly, sometimes just believing in yourself and what you've seen, right? More than like what other people are saying to you because they're kind of confined to a construct or a belief system, like that's your moneymaker right there. Go with that.
Yeah. Not all feedback is good feedback.
No, you got to qualify it.
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
Qualify everything.
fuck. I feel like we covered so much. I forgot what I was going to say too. Let me just see if there's any more
I
questions.
didn't do my plugs.
Yeah, plug yourself. Plug yourself.
I'm just reading. You need consistency. What's up, Billy? Billy's another one of those geniuses that need to bank on himself.
Got to
Calling you
saddle up a
out.
little.
Calling you out because I believe in you.
Ah, I love it. Yeah, send them my way. Like, trust me.
Yeah. Everyone who's following me, please follow the boy, the kid, the amazing abundance, Alex.
The
Please.
man, the myth, the legend.
Yes. A couple of the things that I'm working on right now. I am a digital marketing coach specifically for paid media. I help paid media freelancers really demand the kind of money that they deserve, to really break out into a whole new level of consulting, right? Help them build their personal brand, help them build out the correct business practices. Basically, I'm everything I wish I had, a business consultant for digital advertisers. And then I also do my own thing within digital advertising. I work specifically with e-commerce companies and I help them scale. Specifically, my sweet kind of spot is the 1 million to to 10 million range in revenue and then scaling that past 20 million. But I do consult smaller e-commerce companies, and I pretty much help them get right on track to eventually get to that 1 million.
Word. And what's your website?
My website is cynthiaismarketing.com. And
Boom.
also check out that calculator if you're looking to just make some projections for yourself. That calculators are really like easy and it's fun. It's colorful.
Ooh, I got a great question dropped in here by Worldwide
Oh,
Connor.
yeah. Sin do
Does
cold
sin do
exposure therapy. I see you do it all the
cold
time.
exposure therapy?
You know what I do? I walk out into the porch and it's really fucking cold. Does that count?
I
I'm
mean,
like,
it's
yeah.
a step in the right direction. It's definitely a step in the right direction.
I'm open to it. I'm honestly open to it. Like,
I think you would crush it.
yeah, I think anything that pushes me, I'll try it once. Like, I'll try anything once, which is, I don't know if that's a good thing, but that's just how I am. Yeah. Well,
In the same way.
I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet.
Word,
Someone
word,
saw
word,
the
word.
Bigfoot himself.
That's my actor brother right there. Little inside joke.
Ah, nice. Congratulations on your acting career. That's awesome.
Word. All right, cool. Well, I guess if you guys don't have any questions, I had a wonderful time fucking jamming out with you. That was a lot of fun. We should definitely do this
Likewise.
again.
I would love,
Um,
absolutely.
cool. I know we're a little ahead of schedule. We said, hey, let's do a collab in 2021, so why not do it in 2020?
This is perfect. It was I feel like it was long overdue because we connected in the summer, I think, and then we're just like, we gotta do something. And why not just like hang out on live, provide some value for people.
Hell
Cold
yeah.
equals gold for the soul. All right, I'm gonna try it. I've been really I love the breathing exercises. The what's his name?
Wim
Just
Hof.
yeah, the Wim Hof, the basic breathing exercises. I do a
Yeah.
little bit of that every day.
Yeah,
I think.
I
What were you gonna say? Sorry.
I highly encourage that. I think a lot of people in here are also doing it as well. And if you guys who are coming in here haven't tried it out yet, start with the Wim Hof breathing, and then that kind of just like opens the floodgates into breath work and some other crazy stuff that you'll get to if you keep up with it.
Yeah, some intense breathing exercises that make me want to pass out. That's like,
Yes.
yeah, I'm just like,
Yes.
shit, that's crazy. But I think like breathing and meditation is a staple in entrepreneurship, or it should be, because we are constantly like we're in the unknown. Like there are paths for people where people kind of like weeded it out in the jungles. Like we're literally in the trend. We're in the jungles, so we need to be calm within in order to navigate this unknown. And the best way to do that I've found is through breath work. Even dealing with money when
Hmm.
average like in ads, like dealing with a lot of money, like I manage almost like 300K monthly,
Hmm.
and it can be really stressful. But
Yep.
I don't necessarily lead with stress. I never try and project that energy onto my clients because the reality in the end of the day, they come to me for clarity. So that's my goal, is to give them clarity, is to give them stability, is to give them calm and peace of mind. And so in order to do that, I need to provide that for myself first. And that I do that through breath work. I do that through exercising. Unfortunately, my car broke down, so I haven't been to the gym for the past 3 days and it's killing me. Exercising and meditation.
Word. Y'all heard that. Yeah, and breath work, ultimately what I deduce is that breath work is the path to abundance.
You wouldn't argue that money is?
No, breath work is. It's the foundation. 100%. Because unless you get your beliefs around like, a lot of money, because we all have this threshold of like, that's a lot of money, right? For some people it's $500, for other people it's 500K, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and I've like keep pushing through these thresholds, right? Like I've really
Right.
come to realize over the years that like I'm only worth what I believe I'm worth, right? And like even if I say I believe I'm worth more,
Yeah.
like I really don't believe it because it's not showing up in my bank account. So to our point earlier, getting into those imposter syndrome situations and pushing ourselves, growing ourselves, breath work is a tool that we can use to kind of like keep the nervous system in check as we're pushing our growth edges and starting to believe and seeing the results of our beliefs as we increase our wealth and how much we think we're worth. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'll never
I
forget my first six-figure contract. Like I literally shit my pants. I screamed so fucking loud after I closed the deal. I was like, Ah!
I don't know the answer, but I think for me breath work has been life changing, like in meditation as well. But I don't know the answers to anything really, but I just know ads really well. But I know that I just wanted to make one last point, and
Mm,
hopefully anyone that's listening, if you're freelancing or if you're providing services for people, or I don't know, you're creating a product for yourself, like I work with this a lot with the freelancers that I mentor and then I consult. Oftentimes they have difficulties asking for a certain amount. And that kind of ties into the whole imposter syndrome, that ties into all this stuff. I have to say that the reason why it's a weird thing, you often have a problem with asking for a certain amount is because you don't, like exactly what you said, you don't necessarily believe that you're worth it. And so you have to work out those internal struggles a lot of the time. And the way that I work it out is literally through well, I explore some inner child stuff, but that gets a little
mm.
woo woo. But I just practice actually doing it all the time. I'm always pitching a new idea to a client, to a prospect, because I get a lot of prospects my way, and I'm just like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to try this new idea that I had. So I try it. I fail. I don't get anything. They think I'm crazy, and it's just like, okay, that's fine. I reposition it, try it to someone else. Boom, I nail it. Boom, I nailed $10,000 from a project from a one-off thing. Like so you just have to kind of like expose yourself to it, and eventually it's like when you look in the mirror and you tell yourself you're beautiful, eventually you'll fucking believe it.
100%,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. And just to close that off, a tip for anybody who's having a hard time asking for what they're worth, I always say, whatever you're asking now, double it. And gentleman that just dropped in, Voy, he actually gave me a great tip. You say the number, you lean back, and you shut the fuck up.
Yeah, just don't say anything.
Shut the fuck up.
Because if you
Shoot your
interject,
shot.
if you interject with like a or a you really fuck it up.
You killed it.
Yeah, you just have to own it and believe it, even if
100%.
you're scared,
100%.
and
Word.
then do it with chutzpah.
Well, Sin, thank you so much. I appreciate
Yeah,
you taking the time. I had a shit ton of fun. And you
same.
already plugged yourself, guys. Go check her out. She's amazing. She's obviously doing great things, going fucking great places. So, yeah, definitely go for the follow. Thank you
Thank
again,
you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for this. And we got to do this again.
for
Blast.
sure.
Take
All
care.
right, dude. Happy holidays.
Good night.